What you doing, Diglet Dreamers? Mather's back with a probably long video. I really wanted to get this video out there before, what's happening next week, because I'm sure BDSP will lose all the few shreds of relevance that it still has by the time Scarlet and Violet releases. So I wanted to make sure I got this out there before that happened. So this video will be about my Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl Draft League run that I did as part of the Vitality Draft League. It was kind of an off-season, middle of the regular season kind of thing. I'm hoping that the Vitality Draft League will start back up when Scarlet and Violet comes out, and maybe the meta settles a little bit to a point where things are standardized. But I wanted to give a quick introduction to what a draft league is, because I'm not sure everyone knows exactly what that is. I mean, there have been some very popular YouTube videos about draft leagues. If you've been following my channel for a long time, you're probably somewhat familiar. But basically how it works is there's a whole roster of Pokemon to choose from, and everybody, when taking part in the draft league, builds a team, maybe usually somewhere between 9 and 11 Pokemon, basically taking from the list, the whole list of all the Pokemon. But the thing is that anytime a Pokemon is chosen, it means that no one else in the league can also use that Pokemon. So it's kind of like you build your team first, and then it goes through weeks of battles until it comes to like a bracket style playoffs where the champion is determined. So with Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, it was only the Pokemon in those games. So it basically only the Pokemon from Generation 1 through 4. So yeah, that's kind of what was going on here. First thing I want to do, go over my draft, and then I will take a look at each matchup and the replay from each matchup as well. So this could be a long video. I'm expecting it to be, but I'll try not to dilly-dally too much. Important things to consider when making a draft. There are, things you want to get, like there's common cores, like having a fairy, dragon, and steel type. Preferably one of each, or one can double up on the types, but those three types make a very good defensive core, covering a lot of their weaknesses and stuff like that. So it is a good thing to have. Other the good things to have are like a ground type to avoid electric moves, obviously, something that is immune to ground, like a flying type. But there's a lot of things I could get into, but just to kind of give you kind of the basics of what you need in a draft before I go over my own. And also I'll say, if you're interested in participating in a draft league perhaps in the future, go ahead and let me know. Vitality Draft League should be getting started, or hopefully we'll get started a little while after Scarlet and Violet releases. But there's always something out there. There's always people looking. So let me know if you're interested, and I could maybe help you set something up. But here was my draft. So the first thing I thought of when I did this draft was I want to use Pokemon that I enjoy. Something that's great about Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl is that there is a much smaller roster of Pokemon, which means that individual Pokemon have less competition. There's more room for variety. There's more chance for success for what might be in like a Sword and Shield metagame, something that is not as good. For example, Starmie is a very good Pokemon in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, thanks to its good speed tier and special attack and coverage moves and all that. Meanwhile, in in Gen 8, it's an NU Pokemon, so not quite the same. But also what came along with Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl is a bunch of Pokemon that had not had the chance to appear officially in Sword and Shield metas yet. So one of my favorite Pokemon that I wanted to kind of draft around was Yanmega. And so going into the draft, I knew that was part of my plan. So I knew I needed hazard control. Obviously, Yanmega is very weak to Stealth Rock, and there's no heavy-duty boots in this metagame. So I needed to make sure I could keep those rocks off the field. So my first pick was a very fast, very offensive, but also very versatile, Starmie. Rapid spin support, of course. I think this is just a great pick. It has a lot of versatility in terms of being able to run great coverage moves. It's, Space 100 isn't super strong, but it's strong enough, and it's got a really good speed tier, but it can also run kind of a defensive set. Like being a water type helps it a lot, and it's got decent bulk, 60, 85, 85 for its defenses. So yeah, my second pick, Dawn Fan. Yet another rapid spinner. I had a feeling that this thing wasn't gonna last into the sequential picks. Like, I had a feeling I had to grab it now or never get it. And it was another Pokemon that was on my radar because it has yet to be in Gen 8, obviously. And I thought it would be fun to use it again. So there it is. 2 rapid spinners, which also meant that my opponents could not use either of these rapid spinners as well, which meant my own hazards on their side of the field would be harder to get rid of. So I liked it. Those are my first 2 picks. I then decided to get Gramble. There's not a lot of fairy type Pokemon in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. There's Gramble, there's like Gardevoir, Clefable, of course, but yeah, not a lot of fairy types. So I decided to grab one early, even though, like, if this was more of a diverse, more of a, up to like Gen 7, let's say, since Granbull is also not in Gen 8 yet, Granbull probably wouldn't go that early. But because fairy is such an important type to have on your team, and there's not that many of them, I knew it was going to be important to grab. So I did that early. I then also grabbed a dragon type in Flygon. This is just kind of similar to fairies. There's not a ton of options when it comes to dragons this early on in Pokemon. Like there's Dragonite, Salamence, Garchomp, and not that much else. So I really like Flygon. It's one of my favorite Pokemon, and I feel very comfortable using it. Like, I'm very familiar with its strengths and weaknesses, so decided to go with that. And then I got my Steel type in Bronzong. Kind of a Pokemon that I have grown to love competitively. I never was a big fan of it just as a Pokemon, but in using it a lot, I'm a big fan of RU as a tier, and Bronzong is kind of a premier Steel type in those lower tiers. So it was another Pokemon that I felt very comfortable and familiar with, so I decided to go with it. Speaking of, I decided to get Drapion next. Having a grounded poison type is something you might hear a lot when it comes to draft leagues, and that's because of toxic spikes. It's the easiest way to get rid of toxic spikes is to have a poison type switch in and absorb them, rather than defogging or rapid spinning them away or anything like that. So it's good to have, just so your opponent doesn't, take advantage of that and try to hit you with some toxic spikes. But Drapion is, you'll see a theme with a lot of the Pokemon that I drafted are Pokemon that I'm very comfortable with, that I've used a lot in many previous metagames. And Drapion definitely falls into that as well. Really solid speed tier, great, poison, dark, super good typing, good offensive types to have on a draft. It also, of course, has some very good utility in terms of its 110 base defense, which is nice. It gets like Taunt, it gets Toxic Spikes, and plenty of stuff like that. So very versatile, very useful, and I'm glad I picked it up. And right after that is when I decided to finally pick up Yanmega. I felt it was the right time. I knew it wasn't going to go super early, but I wanted to make sure I got it before anyone else even started thinking about it, because it was, one of my biggest priorities to get for my draft. I don't think I need to tell you how awesome Yanmega is. Super strong. Speed Boost is a great ability. Tinted Lens, also a super great ability. Of course, not having heavy duty boots is kind of a shame, but it does open up the potential for Life Orb and Choice Specs to be a little bit more viable. And yeah, that's that. Next, I wanted to get a Fire type because I didn't have a Fire type yet, and I feel like that is always a good type to have. And so of the few that were left, Magmortar seemed like the best option to me. It's kind of a weird one. It's got kind of weird stats. It's not super fast. It's not super bulky. It is really strong though, and it gets a lot of weird moves. So it was kind of a weird one. I kind of had to pick what was left when it came to fire types, but I wasn't too upset with it. It does get a lot of cool utility moves like taunt as well. Maybe not. Maybe a lot isn't quite the right word, but yeah, Will-O-Wisp, sure. So Magmortar on the team. Next, I wanted a fast electric type, so I went with Raichu. Really great speed tier to have. Really strong. I mean, having a fast electric type is always going to be nice. It's a great way to break through bulky water types, other stuff like that. It also, I mean, as far as electric types go, Raichu has some pretty good coverage in like Grass Knot and Surf that can hit, ground types that are going to want to switch in on your electric moves. So I felt pretty good about it. Nasty Plot, also a great setup move for this thing. Next, I wanted to get Abomasnow. I needed a grass type as my last thing that I was kind of after, because another good core to have is a Fire, Water, Grass. They kind of cover each other's weaknesses and help each other out offensively as well. So grass type was on my list. I didn't have a ton of options this late in the draft. A lot of people had picked a lot of the other good grass types, but I saw Abomasnow there. I was like, you know what? I could use a grass type. I could use some priority, so Ice Shard. And also just having an ice type is not a bad thing to have offensively. Being able to hit, some of the biggest offensive threats like Garchomp, Salamence with a priority Ice Shard is very nice. And strong blizzards are also a great thing. I think, and the Aurora Veil is a thing. I was thinking about that too. So it's a very nice thing to have. So yeah, that's Abomasnow. And then my final pick, I decided to just pick up Heracross. It was sitting there. It was still not drafted at the end of the draft. I don't think I need to explain how strong and useful Heracross is as a Pokemon. Really great choice scarf user. Obviously, there's the Flame Orb Guts set with Swords Dance is even an option. So I just thought it would be a really great wall breaker, potential choice scarf cleaner. And I needed a fighting type, I think. I don't think I drafted any fighting types so far. Of course, the one downside with this thing is that it doesn't, kind of a downside with all BDSP sets is that maybe Abomasnow doesn't get Aurora Veil. I kind of forgot. I don't think I actually used it, so maybe it didn't. And then Heracross doesn't get knockoff in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, with Throat Chop being its best dark type coverage, so it is a little bit less useful in that way. Kind of walled a little bit by ghost types. But yeah, that's my draft. You can see them all here. Actually, this is probably a better way to see them all together. So 11 Pokemon. With this draft, there was no point cap. Sometimes with drafts, maybe you only have so many points, and Pokemon are worth a certain amount of points. For example, Garchomp, a super good Pokemon would be worth higher amount of points, and so you kind of spend some higher points on the better Pokemon, and then pick up some lower, some less viable Pokemon with the lower points. But with this draft, there was none of that. It was just free for all. You just grab whatever you want. So that's what I did, and I was pretty happy about it. So there were then 7 weeks of battles, with each battle determined, you have a record. Depending on how well you do in those 7 battles, you might make it to the playoffs. My first week, I was up against Jose, friend of the channel, and in a part of many of my draft leagues. But unfortunately, for this draft league, timing didn't really work out that well for him, and he had to forfeit and eventually drop the league. So my first week, I got a forfeit win. Not much to talk about there, but a solid start. And then week 2, I will jump into now. So week 2, I was up against Gil, who has also been a part of the Vitality Draft League many times. This was Gil's draft. Very threatening. Latias, very scary Pokemon. Raikou, super good electric type. I was very sad I didn't get this one. I had to settle with Raichu, but you know what? I'm happy with Raichu. I shouldn't say that. He's got a lot of good speed tiers like Raikou, Crobat, Sneasel, even Mismagius. Very fast Pokemon. Actually, Pure Ugly's even super fast, 112. So lots of scary Pokemon. I did save all my teams. So this draft league happened a while ago. I've been thinking about and wanting to make this video for a while. I started writing a script and wanted to do like a cool edited video, but ended up not really having the time to really work on that and the skills to edit that. But I did manage to save all the teams that I used in this league, so I still have them. So this is the team I decided to bring. With having so many fast Pokemon on his team, I knew that bringing Speed Boost Yanmega would be a great option. With one Speed Boost is able to outspeed anything that's not Choice Scarfed. So I thought that'd be great. It also, Bug Buzz breaks through Latias. I also brought Giga Drain for the Quagsire. We can put in a lot of work. You just need to weaken the team a little bit. So I decided to bring Stealth Rock on Bronzong. I got Toxic Spikes, Whirlwind, Drapion. My Rapid Spinner this week was Donphan. Just a strong one. What's Rostberry? Oh yeah, Burn. What was I thinking? I got a little crazy with this metagame, I gotta say. Was I thinking about... Oh, I was thinking about Scald Raikou. Yeah, I was on something else this league, I gotta say. I think I probably had enough HP to like tank a Scald, to like come in on an electric move, tank a Scald, and KO with Earthquake or something like that. And of course, Burn was a big consideration. All right, what am I saying? I had Sturdy. So yeah, the idea would be I live Scald on with Sturdy, and then I get Burn, and like Gil's like, oh yes, Burn, but then the Rostberry cures the Burn, and then I KO with Earthquake. So yeah, I got a little crazy with stuff. I got Choice Scarf, Iron Tail, Flygon. What did I have Iron Tail for? I don't know. Was it for the Sneasel, maybe? I don't know. That's weird. And then I have Intimidate, Gramble, with Overheat for the... I think... Did I bring that for the Jirachi? Jirachi and maybe also the Sneasel. So that's a funny one. Thunderwave. Yeah. So that's what I brought to this week. Let's see how it worked out for me. I'm going to switch over to the replays. So here is week 1. So Gil decided to bring Mismagius, Quagsire, Latias, Jirachi, Feraligatr, and Sneasel. So didn't bring the Raikou, which I was kind of preparing for a little bit with that Donphan, obviously. But also, I mean, look at that team. There's a lot of strong offensive threats, and then there's the big old bulky Quagsire sitting there just smiling like nothing's wrong. So why don't we get into it? I'll put it on, normal's probably fine. Okay, so they led Sneasel. I think I led, Drapion, because I wanted to get my Toxic Spikes up. That was the thing I noticed with his team. Latias was the only real defogger, I believe. So with Drapion being a pretty good counter or check to the Latias, I decided the Toxic Spikes would be a pretty good thing here. But obviously shows the fake out there as I get my first Toxic Spike up on the incoming Quagsire. But I know my Bronzong can take this Quagsire on quite well and get the Stealth Rock up, which I was very hopeful for. Oh yeah, I fragged the Grass Knot. Not only was this able to take Scalds and dodge Earthquakes, but I also had the Grass Knot. So I managed to take a lot of damage off on the Quagsire, get my Stealth Rock up the next turn expecting a switch, and then finish it off with the Quagsire finish it off with a Grass Knot as the Quagsire just stays in. Latias then comes in. I think it does show the defog here, which I was not happy about, but gives me a free switch into my Drapion, which I can go for a knockoff, and the Mismagius comes in, and is immediately KO'd. I don't think a crit mattered there, but Gil does mention that I think he misclicked that Miss Magia switch, which is very unfortunate for him. I decided to stay in on this Sneasel. I know I'm pretty bulky, so I can tank fake outs and all that, and I just get another Toxic Spike up, and then I Whirlwind just to get somebody poisoned. I know there's no boots here, so I was feeling good. Yet another fake out, but with the Black Sludge, I'm actually recovering pretty nicely. Ice Shard is not doing too much, as I just knock off the Focus Sash there. Yeah. I decided to just go into Gramble. Intimidate obviously doesn't work on Inner Focus, but I'm still tanking the hits very well, and Poison is just slowly whittling away this Sneasel, and then I just take it out with a Play Rough. So things are looking good as the Jirachi comes in. I decided to just, I was afraid it might set up or anything, so I decided to just stay in and go for an Earthquake, which does a good amount of damage. Gramble is not to be trifled with, but then of course the +1 calm-minded Jirachi is going to take him out with a Steel move. Donphan can of course come in not fearing anything thanks to Sturdy and finish off the Jirachi. Feraligatr then does come in. I'm not going to let this thing Dragon Dance for free, so I stay in and go for the Earthquake, which does crit and does a lot of damage, plus Poison. I get some Ice Shard chip off there as Feraligatr takes out Donphan. Now it is down to 7%, and I think it's time. Yanmega comes in. I just protect just to guarantee a speed boost. As Latias just comes in and Healing Wishes, so that the Feraligatr can come back in, but unfortunately Toxic Spike still poisons it, and Giga Drain is going to be doing far too much as Feraligatr just go for a last-ditch Dragon Dance before the poison takes it out. So that is my week 2 battle, but my first battle of the Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl League. A good showing from a lot of the teammates. Flygon the only one, I think, not really hitting the field there. So I felt good. I felt happy. I got a nice Yanmega mini sweep at the end, which is always fun. So I guess in keeping it moving, I'll move on to the next week 3, which I was up against Aster, a very talented battler who has been, has he been champion? I feel like he's at least won one league that I've been a part of. Maybe it was the Vitality Draft League, one of the seasons. But anyway, very skilled battler, always in the playoffs, always fighting for that champion slot. I mean, look at this team. This is a really scary team. Garchomp, the first draft. I mean, Tyranitar, Rotom Wash, super good bulky defensive Pokemon. Blissey, everyone knows Blissey. Suicune, super scary. And then a lot of good later picks too. I mean, I don't want to brush over Azelf either, but Registeel, super bulky steel type. Vileplume, I feel very underrated. Arcanine, of course. Dusknoir and Swellow. So lots of really strong, bulky and powerful Pokemon, and pretty good speed tiers too, with Azelf and Swellow being pretty fast. What is Azelf's speed actually? Is it 110? 115, yeah, even better. So this week I knew that I needed to bring some speed. Starmie was looking really good. Hits things like the Garchomp, Tyranitar, Swallow. I don't know, hits a lot of things. It has a really good speed tier, and I can pack coverage moves to KO the Garchomp and outspeed it, of course. I can pack Thunderbolt for the Suicune. I don't know about you guys, but Suicune is always one of my biggest, most frightening Pokemon to go up against, because I'm just traumatized from sleep talk, rest, calm mind sets. They're always on my mind. They always scare me, and I never want to mess around with that stuff. So, of course, I brought Raichu, Focus Sash, Nasty Plot, because that is probably one of the best ways to deal with bulky water types. Just boost my special attack and hit him with a super effective move. Get him out of there. Nasty Plot, of course, outpacing Calm Mind, being +2 versus +1. I did bring Explosion Bronzong this time with the Stealth Rock. Gramble here, I brought Roar Gramble just because I didn't want any more Calm Mind setting up, like it could be a good last ditch effort to swap out the Suicune before it gets too boosted. I got Expert Belt Starmie with the Rapid Spin this time. Hydro Pump, Ice Beam, and Psychic, which hits everything on Aster's team, at least neutrally, I believe. And then I brought Choice Scarf, Heracross, because, I mean, there's a Blissey on the field. So if I can just start clicking close combat versus Aster's team, then that's going to be very helpful. And then the most interesting set this week is Substitute Dragon Dance Flygon. Now, this was kind of a weird one for me. I was looking at Flygon, and I was thinking, you know, Choice Scarf is usually my go-to thought when it comes to Flygon, but I was looking at the team matchup, and I realized I don't really need anything other than Dragon and Ground to hit this team, because he doesn't actually have a Fairy type, which is kind of funny. So I was like, what if I just run like Dragon Dance? And so I put, and then I was like, substitute. Like, it's such a weird set. And then I put a little bit of HP so that I can tank a few hits. Like, I think a non-boosted Suicune Scald wouldn't break my sub. You know, stuff like that. So it was kind of a weird set. Like, I can't really speak to it being successful outside of a draft league, but here we are. Why don't I go ahead and pull up the replay? So here we got week 3, right? Week 3. This is the team Aster decided to bring. He's got the Suicune, Arcanine, Blissey, Azelf, Dusknoir, and Garchomp. So overall, a very bulky team. Obviously, that Garchomp has a good speed tier and is definitely very strong as well. Azelf is very fast, but generally a very bulky team that I don't want to mess with. A Dusknoir Blissey combo is definitely an underrated combo. So why don't we get into it? I figured the Azelf lead is coming, so I decided to just lead Bronzong and try to either just attack and get my Stealth Rock up, depending on if it went for a taunt or not. Does just go right for a Fire Blast, and I think, wait, hold on. I just need to look at something. Was this the, no, okay, no. This is not the time that I brought Heat Proof, but that has come up. It has come up in this league. So the fire, but I was very specially bulky, I believe, so the Fire Blast missing obviously is not enjoyable, but as you can see right there, the second one, I am able to take at least 2, and then the Gyro Ball damage not doing as much because I did get burned. But I got my Stealth Rock up, which is kind of the important thing. I decided to go into Starmie and just throw off a Hydro Pump and take out the Azelf. As in comes the Blissey, I decided this is my chance to just get a Rapid Spin off as I get rid of those rocks, as the Blissey goes for a Calm Mind, which automatically scared the heck out of me. So I hard switched right into my Heracross, take a Shadow Ball, and I just go right for the close combat. I did not fear the Dusknoir. I was not going to be taking a risk with this Blissey. I figured if the Dusknoir come in, I would just switch out. I just needed to scare out that Blissey, and thankfully close combat takes out the Blissey. I decided to switch into Bronzong as the Dusknoir goes for a Will-O-Wisp. I'm getting a little slowed down here. I'm already burned, so I'm not really worried, and I didn't have much to do with Bronzong past this point. So I just switch in Bronzong on the Will-O-Wisp, and as the Dusknoir taunts, I just explode. It's not like I wasn't expecting to do damage to the Dusknoir. All I wanted was a free switch, because I didn't want to come in on a like a Shadow Punch or another Will-O-Wisp on something else, so I decided to just explode and get my free switch into Flygon. I am packing the substitute, so I know I can go for that and dodge the incoming Will-O-Wisp, and that works out pretty well for me. As now I can start Dragon Dancing, so Shadow Sneak, not breaking that sub, and I get my first Dragon Dance up. Go for the Earthquake there, doing almost half to Dusknoir, so not quite, as he goes for a taunt there to prevent me from setting up any further. The second Shadow Sneak does break my sub as I take out the Dusknoir with the second Earthquake. But now the Garchomp comes in, and I'm like, okay, this has got to be Scarf. So I have my dedicated check in Gramble. I switch into the Outrage, and I am good. Arcanine switches in, gets me with an Intimidate. I just roar. Yeah, I was like, Stealth Rocker up, why not? Go for the play rough there as I roared the Garchomp back in, but Arcanine comes in to intimidate me further. Morning Suns as I switch to Starmie. And here I was trying so hard to catch the Suicune, trying to come in on a water move, that I kept clicking Psychic. It was doing a good chunk to the Arcanine, but I think at some point I should have just bit the bullet and gone for a water move instead, as a couple extreme speeds is able to take out my Starmie. I go back into Gramble, and Earthquake is going to be doing 50%. Flare Blitz, not doing too much, especially with the Intimidate, and Gramble is able to take out the Arcanine. So now the Suicune, the scary Suicune comes in, goes for a Surf, which actually does a lot. As I am in my paranoia, decide to just roar it out because I don't want it to Calm Mind. And then Garchomp comes in, goes for an Earthquake as I switch into Flygon and dodge it. I'm pretty confident that is a Scarf one, so I'm feeling pretty safe. I go for a Substitute as the Suicune comes in. Go for an Earthquake just to kind of test the damage, and I'm seeing him not doing that much as the Suicune does go for a Calm Mind. I decide to Dragon Dance up because I need some more damage on this thing, as a +1 Surf does break my Substitute. Earthquake there does a lot as the Key Berry is activated, and the Suicune goes for a Rest. And I think here I'm like, okay, I gotta just set myself up, start breaking through this Suicune. So I go for a Substitute as he pulls Rest with Sleep Talk. I get another Dragon Dance up, as I think this time it does pull Surf, so my sub is gone. Go for the Earthquake there, almost doing half, as the Surf does not quite take me out, so I am good to go for another Earthquake here, as the final Surf does take out my Flygon. So this was an interesting turn. There was a lot of consideration into what I should do here, because I needed to make sure the Suicune did not get the chance to rest again. I have Raichu. So I think Gramble is out. Gramble is not fast enough to outpace the Suicune and take it out. So it's between Heracross and Raichu. They both can take out this Pokemon. But the scary thing is, what does Aster do in response? If I go into Raichu and click Thunderbolt, it would KO the Suicune, but it could also give the Garchomp a free switch. And that is not what I want, because I don't want Gramble coming in on too many Earthquakes, because it becomes a whole mind game of switching out and switching back in, and eventually my Gramble is going to get worn down and is not going to be looking good. And then as soon as my Gramble is gone, that frees up the Garchomp to just click Outrage. So the key thing here is that my Gramble is immune to the Outrage. My Heracross resists Earthquake, so they can both switch into certain moves but not the other moves. So it's very weird. I do decide to go Heracross, go for the close combat, take out the Suicune. I get my +1, and the Garchomp comes out. I know this thing is gonna... Okay, so that is the important move there. I knew if I was in with Heracross, it's going to be more tempting to click Outrage, but Outrage is less effective because I have a Gramble. I don't know. It's a whole mind game. So ends up going for the Earthquake because you can't go for Outrage, and I close combat to get the win. So another close game. Lots of weird little mind games and predictions kind of flying around, but a big victory for my team for this draft. And now I'm noticing the clock, and I'm only on the second battle, and it's already getting up to like half an hour in a video. So I'm gonna start moving a little quicker now. Gonna go back to the team builder. Week 4, I was up against Aereo, the commissioner of most of the draft leagues that I've been a part of, including the Delta Battle League and the Vitality Draft League. Just kind of a quick overview. Lots of very threatening Pokemon on Aereo's team. Breloom, super threatening. Heatran, Salamence, Milotic I don't want to brush over, but lots of interesting things. So I think, this is the week that I decided to bring Heatproof Bronzong, because the idea was I switch in on Heatran, and I KO it with an Earthquake, while also tanking its, fire type moves. I think Eruption notwithstanding. But I brought Choice Scarf, Static, Raichu, because it just had great speed tier and had a lot, and Electric was really good versus his team. I also brought Static because he has a Gardevoir with Trace, and I didn't want it to Trace Lightning Rod and then essentially wall my Raichu. I brought Swords Dance, Lumberry, Drapion. I knew this thing would be good too because he has a Sableye, and dark types are immune to Prankster now, so that is nice. Basically a very safe, guaranteed switch into the Sableye and can get a Swords Dance. Of course, Gramble. If my opponent has a strong Dragon type, I need to bring Gramble. So Gramble is here. I brought Heal Bell this time. Just kind of an interesting little thing. I don't know. I'm bringing Analytic, Life Orb, Starmie with Recover, 3 attacks. Rapid Spin on this, and yeah. Why don't we get into the replay? So as you can see, Aereo decided to bring Lapras, Sableye, Gardevoir, Milotic, Steelix, and Salamence. So very interesting. I did not see the Heatran or the Breloom, which are probably, if I had to pick 2 Pokemon he was bringing to like almost every battle, those probably would have been the 2. So that means my Heat-proof Bronzong doesn't get to show off its stuff. But other than that, it's okay. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, let me get my Stealth Rock up. It'll really weaken that Salamence. It'll weaken the Lapras, and generally just weaken the team for the point that something like Raichu, Starmie, or Drapion can start putting in work and cleaning up. I forgot to mention specifically, I put Grass Knot on Starmie because I thought the Lapras would be a pretty good check to Starmie if I didn't bring it. I think it tanks Thunderbolt pretty well, but Lapras is very heavy, so Grass Knot is very strong versus it. So that was the idea with Grass Knot. He leads Milotic because I lead Bronzong. Just want to get my Stealth Rock up right away. I don't care about Milotic scalding me or anything. As the Sableye comes in, I know I am safe to go into my Dark type, my Drapion, dodge that Prankster Will-O-Wisp. Steelix comes in here. I just decided to go for a knockoff. I'm just testing the waters, seeing what I can get done. Steelix gets its own Stealth Rock up as I go into my Donphan. Blocks the Rapid Spin there, but I knew it was coming, so I brought Play Rough Donphan. And yeah, that was kind of nice. Misses the Will-O-Wisp there as I just go for another Play Rough. Because at this point, I think my idea was I just need to get rid of the Sableye, and then nothing can stop me from Rapid Spinning. That was kind of the idea. Like, even if I got burned, I would still KO the Sableye there. So that was the idea there. Like, it was a very unfortunate miss, but in terms of the plays that I was making, it didn't matter too much. As in comes the Lapras, and I want a Rapid Spin, but this is probably the one thing that would stop me, I guess. But I go into Starmie, and Grass Knot works out very well, cleanly KOing the Lapras. Gardevoir comes in, traces the Analytic, which is very scary, but that's why I kept my Bronzong healthy, because Bronzong can come in on any of these stab moves and not worry at all. So I double there into Starmie, I think trying to catch maybe the Steelix coming in or something like that, as the Gardevoir goes for Will-O-Wisp, which is a very unexpected move. I decided to just get some damage off on the Gardevoir, knowing I outspeed it. Surf does a lot of damage, and then it KOs me with a Moonblast. I decided to go, let me go back for a second. So Gardevoir revealed a Will-O-Wisp there, and that cued me into my Lumberry. Drapion could come in and use this thing as setup fodder, but Aereo does decide to go Steelix there as I Earthquake, and I think here I do go for the Earthquake just to get some big chip off on the Steelix. I knew I could tank an Earthquake and 2-hit KO the Steelix, so yeah. A lot of damage as the Salamence comes in, and I think I do save, yeah, because I can come in on the rocks one more time, and I have a Gramble, which is going to be walling this Salamence to the ends of the earth. And now I am pretty free to just click something. What do I click here? Play Rough? I would click Play Rough, yeah. Gardevoir comes in, tanks it, lives it just a little bit, and has leftovers. So I'm, of course, going to save my Gramble as the Will-O-Wisp comes out. and the Lumberry saves my Drapion. And I do outspeed because it is not Scarf, and knock off the Salamence. And I think I just go for a Poison Jab here. No point in switching out as Salamence takes out Drapion. And now things are looking very good for Raichu. Raichu just comes in and clicks the electric move. Down goes the Gardevoir on the switch. In comes the Milotic. Go for Thunderbolt. Ace it pretty well. Gets paralyzed, and then Scald almost takes me out. Ario mentioned in the chat that he was Specs Milotic, which is kind of scary. And then Salamence just comes in and goes down to the rocks. So another win under the belt for this team. Things are going pretty well. Weird little text like the grass knots on Bronzong and on Starmie coming in clutch. Play Rough Donphan actually putting in work in that battle, which was pretty fun. I think in the moment when Gardevoir switched in on Raichu, hoping for the Lightning Rod Trace, but I was one step ahead with the static, so it did not work out. On to the next battle. So week 5 was up against Mon. And I gotta say, probably one of the top scariest teams in the whole draft. I mean, Scizor and Gliscor as the first 2 picks. How did nobody else pick either of those? It's crazy to me. But yeah, then of course Dragonite, big offensive threats, and Porygon Z, Azumarill, and then, Empoleon, Cresselia, Zapdos is big defensive threats as well. So, not a team to be trifled with. This week, I decided to bring Magmortar for the first time. What was my thoughts here? Yeah, I think I just wanted to bring it, and I decided to just do a Taunt, Flamethrower, Thunderbolt, Will-O-Wisp. Obviously Flamethrower and Magmortar itself is just a very good check to Scizor. And then Thunderbolt for, Empoleon, Azumarill, stuff like that. Taunt, also, I enjoyed Taunt versus Gliscor or Cresselia, because probably if Suicune is one of the most traumatic Pokemon for me, Cresselia is the second most traumatic. So, of course, I'm bringing Drapion for that as well, with a Lumberry and Taunt and Swords Dance, so I can just put that thing to bed any moment. I am also bringing Stealth Rock Explosion, Bronzong, Nasty Plot, Raichu with an Expert Belt, Surf for the Gliscor, and then just Thunderbolt for everything else. Starmie with an Expert Belt, Surf, Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, Rapid Spin, and then Gramble with the cheeky Overheat for the potential Scizor, because with an Intimidate, I can, Gramble can tank a Bullet Punch or 2, and then KOs with an Overheat. I did put, oh no, I am negative special attack nature, so I thought I put a little in special attack, but no, I think I realized it was unnecessary. And then of course I also have the Magmortar just in case. So why don't we go ahead and get into that replay real quick. So here is week 5 versus Mon. You can see the team here: Zapdos, Empoleon, Gliscor, Sceptile, Scizor, and Dragonite. So a lot of the big threats are here, a lot of the big bulky threats too. Thankfully no Cresselia. It's always a relief in my mind whenever Cresselia doesn't show up to battle. But I'm going to put this one on a little bit slower because it is an intense battle, and I want to make sure I have the time to talk about each turn without getting too caught up and left behind by the replay. So I lead Bronzong because my first priority is get the Stealth Rock up. It's very good versus the Dragonite, versus the Zapdos and stuff like that. So Gliscor comes out and we just trade rocks turn 1. No problems there. Toxic Orb activates. And then, goes for the knockoff. And I think I just Gyro Ball for damage just to kind of test the waters. Seeing that this seems like it's a pretty physically defensive Gliscor, but didn't learn too much there, honestly. I think I just wanted to see what my opponent did. Zapdos comes in, and I don't really have much of a switch into this thing. So I decided to just go Mag Mortar. I'm a little bulky. I can tank a hit, but with the Stealth Rock up, it's not very easy. I decided to just taunt here to try to prevent the defog, but the Zapdos does just attack, and suddenly my Mag Mortar is very low, and I decided to switch into my Lightning Rod Raichu on the Thunderbolt and get a little boost there. Expecting the switch, I do Volt Switch, but the Zapdos does stay in. Kind of wish I just nasty plotted, but as kind of just a blanket switch in, I go Bronzong on the U-turn, so very good play by Mon, as Sceptile comes in. Now, I had seen some replays of this thing with Substitute Leech Seed, and I was not having it. I Gyro Ball, that's going to break a Sceptile sub anytime. So, misses a Leech Seed there, very unfortunate, as I just go for a Gyro Ball there and do a lot of damage. Either way, the Sceptile would have had to switch in. He would have had a little bit more HP, and I guess Protect too is pretty nice. But yeah, the Sceptile's going to have to switch out here. I guess maybe would have had enough for a sub, actually, now that I think about it. So the Leech Seed miss was pretty rough, as I Gyro Ball on the incoming Zapdos, which is unfortunate because now this thing is going to basically roost for free. I do go into Raichu again. Even though I know a roost is coming, I don't have much for this dang Zapdos. I was very... I think I underestimated the Zapdos because in BDSP it doesn't have Hurricane or Heat Wave, so it's not. I didn't think of it as much of a threat. So I just Volt Switch out, and I just go into Mag Mortar because I don't know what else to do, as the defog does come out, which gets rid of the rocks on my side too, so it's not terrible, but unfortunately my Mag Mortar still takes the rocks and before they get defogged, and then is in range of a Thunderbolt. So Mag Mortar goes down on its first showing. I decide to bring Bronzong back in to get Stealth Rock back up. I am able to take a Thunderbolt, but I'm not going to take the next one. So I do go into Raichu, but Mon does decide to defog, so good play there. And I think here is where I decide to just go for the nasty plot. I just want to just start breaking through this Zapdos. I'm tired of it. Obviously, Gliscor, good switch in. Thunderbolt not quite KOing, as Zapdos does go for a U-turn there. And now the Dragonite is in. And this is, I'm very embarrassed. I forgot about Extreme Speed. I was just like, okay, I can break through. And then just Extreme Speed just takes me out. I completely forgot about it. I had a full health Gramble right there. So not great. I just go for a Play Rough and KO the Zapdos on the switch. And let's see what happens here. Yes, the Empoleon comes in. I do have Earthquake, but I want to save my Gliscor, or I want to save my Gramble so I can overheat that Scizor. So I go Drapion, kind of expecting more of a utility move, as the Ice Beam does a lot of damage. I knock off for some good damage, but then a Scald takes out Drapion. So getting a little dire straits here, but Starmie can come in and start threatening with some offensive moves. Thunderbolt, of course, is not going to do much on the Gliscor switch, but I do have the Ice Beam, and Gliscor does stay in, so I'm able to KO the Gliscor with a quick Ice Beam there, no problem. In comes the Sceptile. This thing does outspeed my Starmie, so I am kind of forced to switch. I bring the Bronzong in. I'm able to tank a Giga Drain, but not another one on the following turn. Yeah, Bronzong goes down to 2 Giga Drains, and now the Sceptile is getting up to a pretty good amount of health, up to 45% now with the leftovers. I decide to go Gramble. Goes for the Protect, as I just go for a Play Rough, because obviously I don't want Starmie taking a Giga Drain, so I gotta go Gramble. And then here, the Scizor comes in as I Play Rough one more time. I think I was very much considering going for Overheat, but no, I didn't. I wasn't strong enough to do it. The Scizor U-turns, as I think I do click Overheat here. Empoleon comes in, I click Overheat, it doesn't do much, so unfortunately my tech is revealed and is ineffective against this Empoleon. But I do decide to, I think my Starmie can come in pretty safely on the Empoleon, taking the Flash Cannon quite well. Goes for the Rapid Spin. I was thinking, like, how could I outspeed this Sceptile and KO? So I get a Rapid Spin and then take a little too much damage, and then Thunderbolt KO the Empoleon. Of course, the Dragonite is looming with the super useful extreme speed, so I am forced out to lose my speed boost. And Gramble, of course, taking the extreme speed very well. Does stay in here, go for another extreme speed. I think just probably weakening my Gramble for later. A play rough crit through multi-scale, does a little over half, which is not bad. Decides to go Scizor there as I play rough one more time. And I think here does go for the Bullet Punch. Yes, which I take 52% of, which is way too much, but the overheat does KO the Scizor, so I at least get some satisfaction out of bringing that. Even it's weird though, I've brought overheat to like previous battles too. Sceptile does come in and unfortunately is able to KO Gramble with a Giga Drain, bringing it to a very good amount of health, 74% after leftovers. And then Starmie, in vain, goes for the Ice Beam. As I find out that I actually outspeed, so lives the Ice Beam on 4% and is able to Giga Drain, which is kind of crazy. Like maybe if something had played a little differently, maybe got a different role, or maybe the something else had happened differently, maybe that Ice Beam would have KO'd the Sceptile, but then the Dragonite was still in the back with an extreme speed to finish the game, so I don't think it ended up mattering. I was a little like, whoa, what if I had like, what could have happened if in the moment I was a little like, whoa, like maybe I could have won that, but I think looking back there was no way for me to win that in that situation. So the team takes its first loss of the BDSP League, getting to the next battle. Which was week 6 versus Beox, who also had kind of a crazy team. Like a lot of very unconventional picks here, but like the more I look at this team, the more it's like every one of these Pokemon is kind of a serious contender, a serious threat. Gengar, obviously, super strong. Togekiss, nobody needs to explain how scary Togekiss is with Nasty Plot, sweeper sets, and then, the classic Thunder Wave, Air Slash, Stall, flinch you to the next dimension. Mew is also just one of those Pokemon that you never know what to expect from. Lucario, a great setup sweeper. Fortress, Roserade, Rotom Heat, Swampert, Umbreon, super bulky Umbreon. And then Amberpom and Honchkrow, super strong offensive picks as well. So kind of a crazy team. And I decided to go with, I brought Scarf Flygon again with Iron Tail because I knew Togekiss was going to be one of the biggest threats to my team, which is why I got Bronzong, very specially defensive, bulky Bronzong. This is actually kind of a fire set. I just need to do like look back at all the different Bronzongs that I brought to all these battles and all the crazy sets that I brought. It's so fascinating. I brought Colbur Berry on a couple Pokemon for the Honchkrow. I can tank a Sucker Punch and KO with a Thunderbolt on Starmie. But yeah, Iron Tail is the 4th move on Flygon to 2-hit KO the what's its name? Togekiss. It's gonna want to switch in because it's immune to both of Flygon's stab moves, and it even double resists U-turn too. So coming in, hitting with an Iron Tail, and then hitting it with an Iron Tail in the following turn is enough. I got also Ice Shard I've brought here because it's just nice versus a lot of his team, like Togekiss, obviously, Roserade, and even Honchkrow. And then I have been having a lot of success with Swords Dance, Lumberry, Drapion, so I brought that again with Fire Fang for the Fortress. I decided also to give Magmortar a second chance. This is a heat set. Power Herb, Solar Beam for the Swampert, and then Thunderbolt for the Togekiss, Flamethrower for everything else, and then I brought Mach Punch for the Ambipom because I was like, I could do like a very good chunk with Mach Punch and like very much catch that thing off guard, especially if it's going to be like fake out Life Orb and stuff like that. Not to mention Flame Body. it'd be easy for the Ambipom to just, got burned. And then for a real quick talk about this, this Bronzong set. Metal Sound lowers the target special defense by 2 and Future Sight. That's just, I don't know. I think I saw something in, like, I don't know how I came up with that, but I was very excited. Let's get into the replay. So here is the replay. As you can see, Biox decided to bring Umbreon, Togekiss, Ambipom, Gengar, Swampert, and Honchkrow. So definitely a lot of things that I was kind of afraid of and expecting. Obviously, the Fortress didn't come, so my Fire Fang Drapion is not going to be making much use of that 4th move slot. But other than that, things are looking pretty interesting. Again, Stealth Rock are king. Like, it's funny how important Stealth Rock become in a meta without Heavy Duty Boots again. It's kind of like, to me, it's like, which one is the unhealthy one? Is it the Boots or is it the Stealth Rock? Like, I don't know. It's interesting. Maybe that debate will continue into Scarlet and Violet. We'll see. Anyway, onto this into this replay. So I lead Bronzong. I want to get my Stealth Rock up for the Togekiss and for the Honchkrow. As he has a similar idea, gets his own Stealth Rock up in a very respectable play. Goes for the Earthquake on my Bronzong just to see if maybe I'm heat proof, but I am not this week. So Earthquake ineffective as I just go for a Future Sight. Why not? There is an Umbreon on the field, but I'm like, why not throw out a Future Sight? And then I just go for a Gyro Ball because I think I was just kind of like expecting something. Like, I don't know what I was expecting there, but it goes for the Roar as brings out my Drapion. I don't want Drapion in on the Swampert, so I go back into Bronzong on the Earthquake, and then a Future Sight comes out on the Swampert, showing that it is quite bulky. Umbreon comes in as I go for another Future Sight. Not really want to stay in here. I do go to Drapion because I can basically use this thing as setup. Swampert comes in after a Wish, and I just go for a knockoff and clean KO the Swampert, meaning the Wish does not happen. Ambipom comes in, and I have Bronzong as a safe switch in. Not yet feeling the need to bring in my Magmortar. But U-turn into Honchkrow. I use my Culber Berry to tank the Sucker Punch and do a hefty chunk with Gyro Ball. And then I just go down to the next Sucker Punch, knowing that this Honchkrow cannot switch back in on the rocks anymore. I go Donphan, knowing I could just Ice Shard as the Togekiss comes in. Does reveal the Defog there. And I think, yeah, I do Rapid Spin, which is kind of funny. But I switch out of there as the... I'm not sure what this set is yet. It could be Air Slash, so it probably is Air Slash. Hold on, I'm getting ahead of myself again. I wanted to keep my Donphan healthy because having it with Sturdy is just a very nice thing to have. It's also a good potential switch into things like Ambipom or Gengar going for like a Sludge Bomb. So I decided to just keep it around, go to my Drapion, and threaten out the Togekiss with a Poison Jab. Umbreon comes in and tanks the Poison Jab pretty well, but I feel confident I can just Swords Dance up on this Umbreon. It goes for a Yawn, but little does my opponent know that I am packing a Lumberry, so I do not fear the sleep and decide to just stay in and go for the +2 Poison Jab, which gets a crit and KOs, which was, I think, pretty big. So Drapion getting 2 very nice crits in this game so far on that Swampert and the Umbreon, which I think both were kind of important. I don't think either of those moves would have KO'd, and especially because the Swampert would have gotten a Wish from the Umbreon had it survived. So Drapion going a little crazy as the Ambipom comes in. I want to keep my Drapion healthy because it is very nice for that Togekiss. I bring Magmortar in, take way too much damage from that Fake Out, and do not get a burn. The Mach Punch does put in some good damage, though, and I know I can now bring in my Scarf Flygon to outspeed it. I'm going to put this on slow for now because I keep getting slowed down. But I do U-turn there just to kind of see if the Togekiss does want to come in on my Flygon, which it does. and that gives me a free switch to my Drapion to scare it out. Not much stopping me from just clicking Poison Jab here, as Biox does sack the Haunch Crow to the Poison Jab. Now the Ambipom comes back in, and I still have Donphan, who is very physically bulky and is able to tank the double hit somewhat. With the Life Orb damage, though, Ambipom is not much longer for this world. I think I do Ice Shard here. Yeah, just I was like, Ice Shard, then Life Orb, the Ambipom's going down. But Togekiss does come in. And I think here I do stay in. As it goes for the Tri-Attack, I'm like, oh no, Tri-Attack, Serene Grace, come on now. I knock off there as the Chardy Berry. I forget, is that one? That's either the Steel or Poison one, which was kind of good to know. I Earthquake on the Roost just to show dominance. No, I don't know. It was my best play. And then I just Ice Shard there for a little more damage as the Tri-Attack doesn't KO me. Yeah, doesn't KO me yet. And I think here I make the switch expecting the Roost to get my Drapion in on this thing. Go for the Poison Jab, and it's not even doing 50%, which is just like, that's how crazy Togekiss is. And then the Tri-Attack does indeed freeze my Drapion. So Togekiss is able to Roost, and yeah, not much Drapion can do there. The Togekiss gets back to full and air slashes me, almost full, and air slashes to KO Drapion. So now I'm in a weird spot where I got to come in with Starmie, go for the Thunderbolt, and actually get the Paralyzation and full Paralyzation. So a lot of hacks on my side of the field this time, but you know what? My opponent brought Serene Grace Togekiss, so what are you going to do? Thunderbolt still not doing enough to the point where it's 2 KO. I still need to rely on hacks, but goes Gengar there as I get a crit on the Thunderbolt, and I do outspeed, right? Yeah, so I 2 KO the Gengar as it did reveal Black Sludge, so I knew it wasn't going to be Choice Scarfed. Ambipom comes in, and I decided I don't need my Donphan at this point. Sack it to the Fake Out, and now it's only has one more attack left with its Life Orb. I do have Scarf Flagon here, and I think I do indeed go for the Iron Tail. Land the first one, it still lives, and then I land the second one. So thank you so much, Flagon, for landing those hits. And then just to play it safe, I just go Starmie on the Fake Out, and Life Orb takes out the Ambipom. So managed to pull through despite the Togekiss. I mean, I got very lucky in that game. Like that, I think that could have been a way closer game than it was, and it already was kind of close. So kind of crazy. Good game to Biox. Good game to everybody so far. I mean, I haven't really been saying that, but I should have. On to the final week of the regular season, week 7. This is versus Mop Man, as he's sometimes known. Another very threatening team. Alakazam, super big threat. Weavile, although it doesn't have knockoff in this game, it is still, very fast, very strong. Magnezone, also a thing to worry about. Hippowdon, Tangrowth, Vaporeon, what a combo, I gotta say. And then, while I was looking at this team, I realized one of the biggest flaws in my team. What do I switch into a strong fire type? That Entei is looking very threatening. So that was kind of the top of my mind. I was like, oh my god, this Entei is about to just blow through me. I don't know, I think I forgot to put 2 more moves on my Granbull this week, because I haven't changed this since the actual battle. I think I was like, okay, I'm going to at least need Play Rough and Earthquake, and then, do I want to put like Roar or Heal Bell or Thunder Wave in these slots? So I think I left it open because I wanted to come back to it, but then I never came back to it. To this day, I haven't come back to it. So I think I even went into the battle with only 2 moves, but, sometimes that's just what happens. I got Starmie with the Surf, Psychic, Ice Beam, which hits everything on my opponent's team very well. Also bringing Modest, just because, I'm not outspeeding the Weavile or the Alakazam, but I am outspeeding everything else with that speed tier. especially the Entei with that speed, and then a modest Surf is just more guaranteed to KO. But one of the biggest offensive threats on my side of the field I realized was Speed Boost Yanmega. Bug Buzz and Air Slash and Giga Drain, Bug Buzz and Air Slash cooking this Tangrowth. Hippowdon and Vaporeon, not going to enjoy taking hits, but also Giga Drain is going to be great. Blast through like the Venusaur, even offensive threats like the Alakazam and the Weavile are going to be, outsped after one Protect and then KO'd with a Bug Buzz. So I thought Yanmega looked really good here. So I brought that, exactly that, Protect, Bug Buzz, Air Slash, Giga Drain. And of course, Modest. Again, I'm bringing Scarf, Flygon, just bringing classic U-Turn, Earthquake, Dragon Claw, and then Defog is kind of a... I have Rapid Spin on Starmie, but I wanted something fast to defog, especially since I was relying on Yanmega to kind of be my main sweeper this time with, Hippowdon, Metagross being pretty reliable stealth rockers on his team. And I figured it was kind of an inevitability. I am bringing another Bronzong, Colbert Levitate. I think I had enough. I think I lived one Sacred Fire, and I was like, I can Earthquake the Entei, but if I get burned by Sacred Fire, I still need something. So I put Rock Tomb because it'll do damage, but it'll also lower speed. And that was kind of like, if my Bronzong gets burned, I can still get some value with Rock Tomb. And then, a -1 speed Entei is much less of a threat. My Gramble could maybe come in and click Earthquake. My Abomasnow could come in and click Earthquake, stuff like that. Speaking of, it's the final battle of the regular season. I had to bring the one Pokemon I hadn't brought to any battles yet so far, so I did bring Abomasnow. I just put like a mixed offensive Ice Shard, Blizzard, Giga Drain, Earthquake, with a bit more of an emphasis on special attack. I think I put Berry because I was like, I can tank a Bullet Punch or a hit from Metagross and hit it with an Earthquake or something like that. I don't think he ended up bringing Metagross though, so it didn't really come into play, but it was an idea. I think Aurora Veil must not have been a thing in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl because I didn't bring it at all. And I didn't even bring it on the one battle I did bring Abomasnow to. So that is that team. I think I took a little bit longer than I probably should have. Let's get to the replay. So here we go. My opponent, Mopman, brought Alakazam, Entei, Vaporeon, Tangrowth, Staraptor, Weavile. So big things that I'm noticing. No Hippowdon, which kind of makes sense. I have an Abomasnow. That thing is just going to be cooked by Abomasnow, so it does make sense, actually. But looking at the team, I'm like, okay, Entei's still a big threat, but Yanmega's looking very good versus this team. So why don't we get into it? I think I just lead Bronzong, just get my Stealth Rock up, because of course it's very good versus Entei, Staraptor, and Weavile without, Boots being in the field. As Mop does his lead Staraptor, and that's kind of an okay start for me. I'm not afraid of much that the Staraptor can do to my Bronzong, as it just U-turns out into the big threat itself, the Entei, but I get my Stealth Rock up, so that's nice. And I think, here I do go Starmie. I'm like, it's my Water type, it's my Fire type switching, but taking 36% plus a burn from Sacred Fire is not the most comfortable switching. I decided to try to make a prediction there and go Abomasnow. Yeah, let me just pause there for a second. So my thought was Entei's gonna fear the water move and switch into like Vaporeon on my Starmie. So I'm like, let me go Abomasnow to catch that switch and threaten the Vaporeon with a grass move. Amazingly though, my man goes for the Bulldoze. Doesn't do much to my Abomasnow, but now my Abomasnow is just in versus this Fire type, which is not a situation that I want to be in. So my already weakened Starmie now has to consider switching in again on this big old threat. So yeah, I do go it. I know I can live one, but it puts me at a very low amount of health. Plus the burn and the hail that I set up myself is leaving me very, very, very low. And then an extreme speed does pick me off. I thought maybe he didn't have it, which is why I stayed in, but no. Entei has taken out my water type and taken very minor damage itself. I do have Scarf Flagon though, and again, I try to make a prediction. You turn out, but the Entei stays in. I decide, okay, what do I have? Go Gramble. Comes in on the Sacred Fire, doesn't get burned, but is not going to be able to outspeed this Entei, so has to kind of risk it again. Second Sacred Fire does burn, and I'm at such a low amount of health. Earthquake maybe would have KO'd, but with a burn, it is not KOing. And now Gramble's in range of a Sacred Fire. So Entei takes out 2 Pokemon. 1/3 of my team is gone. But I do have Yanmega. I just go for the Protect to guarantee that I outspeed this Entei, and then an Air Slash is going to be enough to take it out. I'm like, okay, this Entei is not switching. I just need to attack what's in front of me. Stop making all these plays. So Yanmega gets the Entei out off the field. Vaporeon comes out, and I'm like, okay, do I Giga Drain? No, I need to save it for the sweep later. So I go Abomasnow, knowing I can come in on Scalds, no problem. Obviously, Burn is annoying, but I don't necessarily need my physical attacks anymore now that, Entei is gone. There's no other things to worry about. Does reveal the Protect on Vaporeon there as I go for Giga Drain. And yeah, this next turn is going to be very revealing. I go for the Giga Drain, it only does 34%. So this is a very, very specially defensive Vaporeon, which is not something I was very prepared for. I think I very much underestimated the power of Vaporeon. I was so distracted by Entei that I underestimated the Vaporeon. Thankfully, the side effect of Giga Drain is that Abomasnow gets a lot of HP back. So it is kind of a stalemate in a way. Like, Abomasnow is doing some semi-decent damage, like enough to the point where a crit could change things. But Vaporeon's also healing so much that I'm not really getting anywhere, but neither is my opponent. So it's kind of a weird little stalemate here with Abomasnow just clicking Giga Drain. It's like, who's going to run out of PP first? Am I going to use all of my Giga Drains, or are they going to use all their wishes? Decides to go Staraptor there, as I just click Giga Drain one more time. Stealth Rock plus that leaves Staraptor at half. And of course I want to save my Abomasnow. I need it for, clicking Giga Drain. So Staraptor goes for the close combat there on the Bronzong switch. Bronzong takes it pretty well as the Tangrowth comes in. And I believe, I just Gyro Ball here. The team is definitely softened up. Vaporeon is the one thing that is just causing problems for me. Goes for the knockoff as I switch to Abomasnow, thinking like, you know what, I can just click Blizzard right here. So I don't love that I get knocked off, but Vaporeon comes in as I do Blizzard, trying to just blow out that Tangrowth. Of course, we're kind of back to square one with this Vaporeon versus Abomasnow situation. The question is, will I get a crit? Will something happen? Like, what's going to happen? Like, we're kind of at this point in the game, it's just kind of like a bit of a stalemate. Goes for another Protect as I just keep Giga Draining. I think if it went on a little longer, I probably would start clicking like, Ice Shard on Protect turns just to save my moves. Staraptor comes in here as I think I just click Giga Drain one more time. But yeah, that's the other thing. I need to click Giga Drain. It does KO the Staraptor after the Stealth Rock too, but Giga Drain does give a lot more HP back to Abomasnow, which is kind of key. Alakazam comes in. I think I do just stay in, as I was like, I can't let this Alakazam nasty plot. So it takes out Abomasnow, but I do have my Scarf Flagon that can come in and just U-turn. It will KO the Alakazam. It'll damage the Tangrowth. It'll give me free switch-ins. And so I get to bring in Yanmega on the U-turn, and I don't even need to click Protect here. I could just click Bug Buzz, KO the Tangrowth. I don't need to risk missing an Air Slash, anything like that. And then I get my Speed Boost, so now I am faster than both Alakazam and Weavile. Vaporeon comes in. I do have the Giga Drain, so I go for it. Still doing about as much as it did with Abomasnow. goes for the wish there. And yeah, it's kind of a weird situation. I'm getting fast. Goes for the protect. As I just Giga Drain one more time, and here comes the wish. So Vaporeon practically back to full HP, and I am still here just clicking Giga Drain because it's literally all I have for this Vaporeon. Not doing much. Goes for the Scald there, and I tank it fairly well. Another nice thing about Giga Drain is that I get HP back. So critical hit there for 57% as the Vaporeon does go for the Scald. So important question there. Had I not crit, would I have been in range of the next Scald? I'm not sure. But had I been KO'd by the Scald, the Vaporeon would still be at 7%, at which point do I just come in with Flygon, click Earthquake, KO the Vaporeon, or whatever switches in, sack the Bronzong to the Weavile, and then come back in and just click U-turn? I don't know. But yeah, that's kind of the situation. Critical hit Giga Drain, it was going to happen. You know, I'm clicking Giga Drain so many times. I clicked it like, let's see, like 10 times. I clicked Giga Drain 10 times and one of them crit. It was bound to happen eventually. It just kind of happened at the right time. That Mop also decided to try to attack and take out my Yanmega. So getting the crit and the HP from Giga Drain leaves Yanmega at a point where I can just click Giga Drain again, and then KO the Vaporeon finally. Got pretty lucky there. Weavile comes in. Of course, I'm fearing the Ice Shard, so I switch into my Bronzong. Bronzong's not doing much for me at this point in the game. Goes for the Fake Out. She reveals the Life Orb as well. So I'm like, okay, I have outs here. I have a Colbur Berry. Doesn't save me at that range. But Life Orb is bringing Weavile to about half, and it still has Stealth Rock to contend with as well. I also have Scarf Flygon, which does U-turn and KO. I think if I remember correctly, Mop meant to switch there but didn't, or something like that. But I can now just come into Yanmega, click Protect to guaranteed outspeed. Even a substitute is not going to save this Alakazam as the Bug Buzz goes through the substitute and KOs. So final week victory again for the team. I mean, like, wow, like grabbed from the jaws of defeat with that, like, that crit Giga Drain. Was pretty huge, because that's the cool thing about crit Giga Drain is not only does it do more damage, but I also get more HP back. So it's kind of like a double thing. And you know what? This video's getting long, and I don't really need to go over the first round of the playoffs so much. Well, yeah, I do, because it's more about what I brought. So why don't I go over that? So week 8, but technically the semifinals, as only 4 players made it to the playoffs, including myself, Aster, Mon, and Mop. And of course, immediately following my week 7 match versus Mop, I was up against Mop again in the first round of the playoffs, the semifinals. So, same team, same scary Entei, but now I'm much more aware of the scary Vaporeon. So, a lot of lessons learned for me. I came up with a much more interesting team, and I think a much better team versus his team. I brought a more bulky, especially offensive Flygon with a Yachi Berry potentially for the Weavile. And with its natural typing, it tanks fire moves very well. It dodges Bulldoze, stuff like that. And then I have Earth Power and Flamethrower. Earth Power, I mean, obviously Sacred Fire has a really good chance to burn. So running Earthquake is not going to be very smart because it's not very reliable. Earth Power is going to guaranteed KO this Entei. And then I have Flamethrower as well for the Weavile. So I can tank an Ice hit with the Yachi Berry and then hit it with a Flamethrower and KO it. I have a ton of special attack investment. I was very happy with this set. I was like, how did I not think of this for the first one? And then I also brought Heat Proof Bronzong with Earthquake and Rock Tomb again. So basically the same set, I just put Heat Proof instead of my other one, and then I made it physically defensive instead of specially defensive. So again, this is kind of a good check to that Entei. And then I have Intimidate, Gramble with Earthquake, Taunt, Thunderwave. Finally put 4 moves on this thing, of course. The EV spreads are getting a little crazier with this one. I think I had enough speed to outspeed like things like his slower, bulkier things like Tangrowth, Hippowdon, stuff like that. And then I have Leftovers, Natural Cure, Starmie. So if I come in on a Sacred Fire and get burned, I can switch out and heal that burn. I also have Recover, Surf, and Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt specifically for the Vaporeon, Surf specifically for the Entei, so I am much more prepared for this battle. I'm also bringing Raichu in the place of whoever I brought last time, Abomasnow, because it's a much better offensive check to the Vaporeon, able to click Thunderbolt and Nasty Plot and stuff like that. And then Yanmega obviously was very good, so I am bringing that again, of course. So let's get into round 1 of the playoffs. Getting close now. So here is the battle. Very similar team for Mudman, if not exactly the same team. Yeah, I mean, I still have this replay up. Right? It's the same team, just in different order. Trying to throw me off. But yeah, so I'm up against the same 6 Pokemon. I brought a slightly different team with a few different techs. So I'm much more well prepared. Let's see how it goes. Again, I lead Bronzong. I remembered how important Stealth Rock were in the last battle. I haven't forgotten that. Lead Staraptor as well. So kind of a similar battle so far. U-turns out as I just go for the Stealth Rock, and again in comes the Entei. But I am much more prepared this time. I go into my Flygon, my dedicated check. Goes for the Crunch, surprisingly, trying to catch the Bronzong, I think. Decides to switch out there into the Tangrowth, as I do just U-turn, right? I think after last time, how many times the Entei just stayed in on me, I was like, he's not going to do that again. So I did U-turn there, thinking that, it was going to, yeah, and I was right. The Tangrowth comes in, takes a Stealth Rock, takes U-turn, and I get to bring in, anytime this Tangrowth is in, my Yanmega just comes in and clicks Bug Buzz and gets free value. So down goes the Tangrowth early, which is great. It opens up the door a lot for things like Raichu and Starmie. I decided to just protect on this, on the Entei, as I see it go for the Sacred Fire. I'm like, okay, I don't know if it's banded or not, but in case it is, in comes my Flygon. Indeed goes for the Sacred Fire. I only take 31%. I do get burned, but that's okay. I also have Roost. And yeah, the Entei does not want to stay in this time. I think I do just Roost up. I do. So I am now able to come in on that Entei a few more times now. Go for the U-turn to get out of this Vaporeon. And I just go Starmie. I can tank the water moves. Does go for a nice Shadow Ball there. But I do have Thunderbolt as well for this Vaporeon. Not a lot of switch-ins on my opponent's team now that Tangrowth is gone. Thunderbolt doing almost half, as this Vaporeon continues to be incredibly bulky. A second Shadow Ball does take out my Starmie, but some damage, important damage has been done to this Vaporeon. Raichu comes in, ready to click Thunderbolt again, as Weavile comes in. Pretty good switch, because Weavile actually does have very good special defense, but I mean, that's damage. Like, this Weavile's not coming in again on Stealth Rocks, so I just go Gramble, get the Intimidate. Icicle Crash does a good chunk, but with the Life Orb damage, this Weavile's only getting one more hit in. So I stay in, I go for the Play Rough, as it goes for another Icicle Crash and goes down to Life Orb, and Gramble just clicks Play Rough on nothing. But big offensive threat out of the way. I don't need to worry about Ice Shard on Flygon or Yanmega anymore. Entei comes in. I decide to just stay in. I don't need Gramble for anything else in this battle. I get burned with Sacred Fire, but Earthquake's still doing a good chunk. Entei cannot come in on Stealth Rocks after that damage, so yeah, Entei is here to stay. The second Sacred Fire takes out my Gramble, but that's okay. I believe here I go Flygon, and I'm easily take that Sacred Fire and just click Earth Power, KO this Entei. And now I don't really need Flygon for anything anymore. It's just looking good for Yanmega and Raichu. Between those two, I'm good. Plus I have Bronzong in the back as well. Staraptor comes in. I decide to just go Bronzong. No reason not to. It just U-turns out, takes Life Orb and Stealth Rock. So it is whittling itself down. Vaporeon comes in. It's like, dang it, now this thing gets to Wish. So I decided to just go hard Raichu, assuming the Wish is coming out. Protect can definitely come out here. So I'm like, you know what? Why not just Nasty Plot up? And there's the Protect, and I do get the Nasty Plot off. So even with a Wish, this Vaporeon is not safe anymore. Thunderbolt clean KOs Vaporeon at +2, and that puts me in a very good position. Staraptor can come in, but it's not fast enough. I already seen that it's Life Orb, so I go ahead and just click Thunderbolt there, take out the Staraptor, and now it's down to just the Alakazam. The fear, of course, being that this thing would be like Nasty Plot Focus Sash, so I just stay in and go for the attack, but of course it does outspeed and takes me out with the Psyshock. A lot could go wrong here. It is faster than my Yanmega without a speed boost, so I do have to protect here. Obviously, Nasty Plot could be a thing. I do have a pretty healthy Bronzong with Gyro Ball, so that is a potential check. But Shadow Ball, I mean, the game is far from over. Alakazam could definitely pull this back. But as I protect, Alakazam goes for the Psyshock. And actually, maybe we might have banned Nasty Plot on Alakazam, I forget. Anyway, I get my +1 speed boost, and I'm able to just click Bug Buzz, and down it goes, no Focus Sash. So, that is the semi-finals done. On to the championship battle. And of course, I'm up against none other than Aster. I forgot to put this down here. This was a very threatening team, if you recall, my Week 3 battle. Dusk Noir, Blissey, very good defensive core. Garchomp, huge offensive threat. Tyranitar, also not something to mess around with. Registeel is also here, but of course the big thing being the lack of a fairy type. I learned some things from our previous battle, of course. I decided that Scarf Heracross actually is not the play. I decided to bring Flame Orb Guts Heracross because it has a pretty good speed tier versus a lot of Aster's bulkier Pokemon. And then being able to switch up moves, like being able to go for a close combat on the Blissey and then a Throat Chop on the Dusk Noir, is going to be very useful. I decided to go Adamant as well because I didn't really need the speed. I'm not going to be outspeeding things like Garchomp, even with a jolly nature. So, yeah. I brought Psychic Bronzong specifically for the Vileplume because that was kind of a big defensive check for me. I brought, obviously Gramble had to come because Garchomp is here and I need a fairy type for those strong dragons. I got Expert Belt, Starmie, very fast, good offensive check. Ice Beam can KO the Garchomp, of course. And then I brought Scarf, Flygon with actually especially offensive thanks to that kind of the enlightenment I had during the semifinals. I realized that special Flygon is actually kind of nice. So I brought Earth Power and Fire Blast. Earth Power for things like Registeel, Fire Blast for things like Vileplume, and then I have Super Power as well to try to catch the Blissey if it thinks that it's safe to switch in on especially offensive Flygon. And then I had a very big realization in using Abomasnow versus Mop in that kind of that stalemate versus the Vaporeon. While it wasn't exactly what I would have liked, I would have much rather had Abomasnow, just blow through a Vaporeon rather than kind of stalemate it. I did have the major realization that Abomasnow is actually a really, really good wall breaker. A very scary offensive type of ice plus grass is kind of a really good combo. So I decided to bring very, very offensive mixed attacking Abomasnow. Let's take a look at Aster's team again. Garchomp, Rotom Wash, Tyranitar, Blissey, Suicune, Registeel, Vileplume. All of these things are weak to either an ice or grass move. Like Suicune and Rotom Wash, both obliterated by Wood Hammer. Garchomp, and Tyranitar as well. Garchomp, Vileplume, blown back by a Blizzard. And then I threw the cheeky Focus Punch on there for Blissey, which, Blissey's not going to be doing much in terms of attacking, so I felt I had a pretty good chance to run Focus Punch and just blow this thing away. Also very nice for the Registeel as well, so I was like, holy crap, Abomasnow is actually really good in this matchup. So that's what I did. Now, there was a very interesting turn of events, I'll say, with this championship battle. I mentioned that I had been working on this video for a long time. I was writing a script. I was trying to make like animations for like a well-edited video, but didn't really have the time to work on all that. Didn't really have the technical know-how to make a video like that. So I'm just doing it here freeform. But to give you an example of just how long ago this video, this tournament, this draft and this battle took place, this battle ended up happening on April 1st. So for Showdown veterans, I think you know where this is going. But if you don't know, Pokemon Showdown has this fun thing where they do kind of goofy meme sprites on April Fool's Day. So we queued up to Pokemon Showdown to have our championship battle, forgetting that it was April 1st. Lo and behold, this is what we came up with our, we pull up into the challenge, and this is what we see before us. So Aster brought, if you can tell here, Suicune, Blissey, Dusknoir, Garchomp, Azelf, Vileplume. Yeah, I think you can see my side of the field. I mean, they're all goofy. Just look at this. Starmie is Patrick Star. We got Taco Bell Abomasnow, or Taco Bell Bronzong. We got Obama Snow, and I think I do here. I can switch it to the other side. Yeah, so get a good look at my side of the of the battle. We got Beta Garchomp, very sad Flygon, and Barack Obama Snow. So it's kind of a ridiculous situation, but nonetheless, it is still the championship battle. So I'm gonna let it play out and do my best to not laugh over this commentary. So of course, my first lead as my most reliable Pokemon, what I think is my MVP, Bronzong, leading off, getting those Stealth Rock up as quickly as possible. As Aster leads Dusknoir. Good prediction, goes for the taunt, which prevents me from getting up my Stealth Rock, so I'm very upset. I go hard into my Heracross expecting a Will-O-Wisp, and it does work out, even though I'm packing a Flame Orb. Does have the Colbur Berry to take the I'm sorry. Does have the Colbur Berry to take the Throat Chop pretty well. And then hits me with a Shadow Punch for some good damage. But with the Colbur Berry gone, Throat Chop is going to be doing a lot more damage now. Not quite enough to KO, and then reveals the rest. So Dusknoir gets back to full HP. I'm like, okay, my Heracross is taking too much burn damage. Let me take this Stealth Rock opportunity. Vileplume comes in, goes for the Aromatherapy to wake up the Dusknoir, which is cool. But I do get my Stealth Rock up, and Dusknoir comes back in. I just go for a Psychic on the Vileplume, and Dusknoir tanks it pretty well. As I go back into Heracross, take a lot from the Shadow Punch. I'm at a very low amount of HP. I decide to double into Obama Snow, not wanting my Heracross to go down in vain. And now the Dusknoir is asleep. Azelf comes in as I just click the Blizzard and does a good amount of damage and gets a freeze, which is pretty crazy. And now the question, I think it might have been in range of Ice Shard there, but Blissey comes in as I just click Ice Shard. He does have aromatherapy, it's already shown. Okay, you can see. So with the Blissey in, I don't want to click Blizzard, I don't want to click Ice Shard. I could click Woodhammer, but I don't want to take all that recoil because Blissey has so much HP, I would probably end up taking more damage myself than actually dealing out. So, knowing that this Blissey is probably not going to attack me, is probably going to do something else. Maybe Stealth Rock, maybe Wish, maybe something. Toxic even. I decided to go for the Focus Punch. Blissey goes for the Soft Boiled, and the Focus Punch comes out doing 86%. So that is very important. Huge, huge hit on the Blissey. That means I am now free to go for a Blizzard, because Blissey is at a range where a Blizzard is going to KO, and it's a better move versus the rest of Aster's team as well. It will KO incoming Garchomp. It'll blow away a Vileplume. It'll do a lot to Dusknoir. KO the Azelf at the range that it's at, of course. Suicune, of course, being the one thing that could come in, but then, of course, I have Woodhammer to retaliate if that is what Aster decides to do. So let's see. I do go for the Blizzard here as Blissey just stays in and goes down. But then, of course, the Hail goes away. So I'm like, okay, my Blizzards are less accurate now, but I have realized the potential of Abomasnow. So of course I want to save it and switch out on the Vileplume. So I go into Bronzong knowing that I'm, immune to poison moves like Toxic. And I do have the Psychic that I can click, as I know is probably going to click Aromatherapy. Get a critical hit, which is a lot of damage. Does have the Strength Sap, though, to bring the Vileplume back up. But even without crits, my Psychic is still doing enough damage to where this Vileplume can't really stay in. So Dusknoir comes in on another Psychic. Goes for the Will-O-Wisp. I decided to just stay in on that. Go for another Psychic, get some good chip damage on this Dusknoir, put it in a range where it's going to go for a Rest, and I can switch my Abomasnow in on the Rest. But actually decides to go for a Shadow Punch, which is a pretty big turn, because had the Dusknoir gone for a Rest there, it would have been a little more, like the move I clicked would have been a lot more wobbly. Blizzard is still probably the best choice, but Blizzard doesn't necessarily KO Dusknoir at this range. So in my head, I'm like, okay, I could click the Blizzard. It might KO, but if it doesn't KO and Dusknoir goes for a Rest, then I'm in a bad spot. So I decided that this is the moment where I'm going to go for the Woodhammer. Woodhammer will KO the Dusknoir, and I got Hail up. If, Vileplume decides to come in right here, that's okay. I can Blizzard on the following turn. If Garchomp comes in, Woodhammer's going to do a lot, and then I can Ice Shard. So I'm in a pretty good spot. I needed to make sure that I click Woodhammer here, not Blizzard. The Suicune comes in as I Woodhammer, and bam, gone. My trauma obliterated in one move. Thank you to Abomasnow. And once that happens, Aster decides there's not much to do at this point. Abomasnow is going too crazy. And yeah, that's the game. Abomasnow coming through. Crazy in the finals. Yeah, so that's how I became the Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl World Champion. Because I forgot a qualifier there. The Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl Draft League World Champion. Because who else has done a Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl Draft League? No one that I know of. So I don't think there's anyone to actually contend with me. Now I do also have the regular replay. So I can put that on the screen. Oh, right, there we go. So this is what it really looked like. I'll put it on like fast just while I talk here. Yeah, I feel like these draft leagues, these smaller, more conservative roster of Pokemon draft leagues are leagues that I really enjoy and I think excel. The only other draft league that I've actually become the champion of was a Gen 7 RU draft league from way back in the, was that still Vitality Draft League? It might have been. Having a much more limited roster, I feel like gives my playstyle, which is to like pick Pokemon that I enjoy using, more so than the ones that are really good. I think it gives much more credit to that playstyle, which is, very nice for me. And GG to all my opponents, Aster particularly. Like, that was what can you do versus the Abomasnow? I mean, it's tough. I know everyone is a very great battler, and I'm really looking forward to playing more draft leagues in Scarlet and Violet. So I'm hoping that does end up happening. I will be pushing for it. And if you want to see that content on this channel, make sure to hit that like button. Let me know. I know this is a super long video, but hopefully you stuck around to the end. I forgot I wanted to mention at the beginning of the video that I was the Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl Draft League World Champion, but I forgot. Like, that was supposed to be the whole joke of the video, but I forgot to mention it at the beginning, because the joke being that no one actually played Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. So yeah, that's my big long joke video about how I became a champion of Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. I dare you to challenge me. That's it. I was the top of my game this league. Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl. It's just, I had such a fun time. I was making very creative sets. I was using all the tools in my ability. Oh, let's look at these Bronzong sets, because I brought Bronzong to every battle. We got, this one's not that exciting, but Psychic Bronzong. I actually have the big long list here. So let's start with the first battle. I brought Grass Knot Bronzong for the Quagsire Fire. Then I brought Explosion. Not that exciting, I guess, but kind of fun. Then another Grass Knot with Heat Proof for Earthquake. Heat Proof is the real thing here for the potential Heat Tran that didn't even end up coming. And then another Explosion one. Didn't win that week, so it's not that exciting. And then the Metal Sound Future Sight Bronzong. I need to, this needs to happen again. I need to use this set somehow again and have it work. Then the final week, the Rock Tomb Bronzong with the Colbur Berry. And then again in the first round of the playoffs, the Rock Tomb, but Heat Proof this time, still with the Colbur Berry. And then in the final championship battle, the Psychic for the Vileplume. Yeah, thank you to Bronzong. And talk about some other MVPs like Starmie, huge offensive presence. Gramble, such a reliable check to certain Pokemon, particularly Dragon types. Flygon, huge. That Dragon Dance set was crazy. The specially defensive set and the Iron Tail set that came in clutch. Drapion with its Lumberry, Swords Dance stuff. Yanmega, obviously big threat. I think won 3 games for me with its Speed Boost set. Magmortar definitely tried its best. Raichu, also huge wall breaker for specific things like Vaporeon, Suicune, stuff like that. And just a good sweeper too with I loved running the static for the Trace Gardevoir. And then Heracross KOing that Blissey in the first this week 3 battle, huge. And then putting in good work in the championship battle too versus that Dusknoir. And then of course Abomasnow coming in at the end and just showing how powerful it can be. I'm just so happy for everyone on this team. All of these Pokemon deserve to be champions. I didn't really talk about Donphan, but Donphan was awesome, putting in a ton of work with Earthquake, and Sturdy is such a useful ability. Ice Shard priority too. It's good stuff. Just very good stuff for everybody. Every Pokemon. I feel like this is one of my, like, this draft I will always remember. Yeah, so I wanted to make sure that I shared this with you guys before the hype of Scarlet and Violet totally takes over everything. So thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I'm looking forward to a bunch of crazy videos with Scarlet and Violet when that comes out, and I hope you are too. Peace out, keep dreaming, and I'll see you next time.